My name is Pierre Gent. I'm the Managing Director of the Foundation of the Children's Hospice at Sternenbrücke. Sternenbrücke is an institution for children with limited life expectation. We support children who are terminally ill from the point in time when the diagnosis has been made that the child is terminally ill, together with the parents and the siblings over and above the end of the life of the child. Now, if you've not had a great deal to do with this issue, think first and foremost of children suffering from cancer, because they have a strong presence in our minds. But children suffering from cancer only constitute about 20% of the children who die at the age of young persons to teenagers. There are very many children suffering from multiple handicaps who die when they're children or young people as a result of the host of complications that they have. And more of these children have come into the world not being fully mature. Now, if you imagine you yourself have a child, all of a sudden you're confronted with this diagnosis that the child is terminally ill, what you try to do first and foremost is to use your own resources to support this child. And this support generally takes place at home in your own four walls. But the situation is that the children become ever more seriously ill. They need much more care than the earlier stages. They need to have their medicine in the course of the night. They have to be put in a different bed. They have to have special food. Perhaps they have to have ongoing ventilation. And the parents reach the end of the resources comparatively quickly. At the same time, all the people around them withdraw, because what can you say to somebody, a friend or whoever it might be, whose child is terminally ill? Well, people just feel at a loss as to what to do. So the parents gradually slip into a situation of isolation where they need ever more support. And that is where our work begins. So we say it really is no use at all if we only approach the family in the last few days and weeks, or they come to us. No, we must pick them up very much earlier on in the process. Now, we've observed in the past that children who are terminally ill, particularly the siblings of these children, recede very much in the background because the parents are completely focused. All the energy, everything they do, focuses on the child that has fallen ill. This means that these siblings need attention and care, and the parents need room and space to devote themselves to the siblings of the child that's fallen ill. About 70% of all families who have a terminally ill child need support. So it's a question of not accompanying them at the last stage, the last few weeks of the illness of the child, but very much earlier on. And therefore we offer a period of 28 days. So as of that time, when the diagnosis has been made, they can come to us. You should imagine these are planned stays in the spring and summer and autumn for a different number of weeks, and then they can pass on the care of the child to somebody else. They have the time to address their own partners, to do something about themselves, which of course would believe not been the case at all, simply ruled out, and again have the possibility of looking after and spending more time with the sibling or siblings. But of course, what is key here, in order to ensure that the quality of life is as short as long as possible, that the child concerned is free of pain. And that is why our strong focus is on anti-pain therapy. We have child doctors who have undergone special training for this purpose, and then they try to make sure that the whole family system is not lost sight of. And what's very important with us is that we have a team of carers, nurses, therapists, social workers who all work together very closely and have an exchange amongst each other. And we've also established in the course of our work that this period of 28 days is not sufficient if it's a long ongoing illness. And last year we set up an outpatients hospice service that we set up. In other words, care provided not just on a voluntary basis, people supporting their parents and their children at home, but to provide professional carers in order to make sure that when there is a need for very special, very intensive care, these families can be given the relevant support. And that's the work of our children's hospice at Sternenbrücke, which was opened in Hamburg in the year 2003. For the most part, it's financed by donations. So it has to do with our German legislation that in this country, you try to provide support for the person who has fallen ill, but society is lost of the overall family system. So the support of the family and the siblings is financed 100% from donations. To give you a general idea of the volume involved, we have 1.7 million euros per year or more. That's the amount we need per year to be able to carry on this work. So we need a lot of PR work to be carried on, fundraising to be carried out to make sure that we can provide the families with the support that they need. And I think that our health system, at this aspect at least, is indeed in need of a little improvement. And I hope very much indeed that amongst the political decision makers there will be a greater awareness of the need for prevention. Of course, this is very much preventative work that we're carrying out here, but on the other hand, of course, there are considerable economic savings that are involved. So in order to conclude my brief presentation, there is a considerable need for support, not just in the children's hospice area, also need for education and training, but also in the children's clinics, in the outpatient care service, and therefore we have set up an academy as well, the task of which is to provide training for children's doctors, nurses and so on and so forth, in order to make sure that these professional groups can be focused on support for children in the last few weeks of their lives, and give all this a much professional aspect and to raise the level of awareness for the needs of families involved. That's very brief. Thank you very much.